Adverbs and adverbial phrases change the clause's action. This is lesson 8 in the Architecture of Grammar. My name is Léandre Larouche. I'm the author of Architecture of Grammar and the founder of Trivium Writing. In this video, we're going to take a look at adverbs and adverbial phrases. So, as we've been discussing in the past videos, we have clauses. They can be dependent or independent. The basic grammatical requirement we need is a who and a what. This is the core of our sentence. We have a who and a what, and whether or not we have a conjunction before the who and the what determines whether that sentence is dependent or independent. Now we're just looking at the who and the what, and specifically in this video we're going to be focusing on the what, because that is the action in the clause, and it is absolutely important to understand what happens in a sentence. As we've said in a past video, sentences are stories. They have characters, they have actions, and we need to know who is playing in the story and what they are doing. But when it comes to their actions have a lot more to them, and so that's why we need adverbs and adverbial phrases. Now, adverbs, as the name indicates, modify verbs. So they go before or after the verb, and they change the meaning of it, and they give more information. So we have our what, which is the action in the sentence, and we have different adverbs and we have different adverb phrases. Now, again, phrases are simply groups of words, and so an adverb phrase is simply a phrase with more parts of speech than just the adverb, which is just one. Now, the important thing to understand is that we have different types of adverbs and different types of adverbial phrases, and we have 6 types. So we have time, we have place, we have frequency, manner, degree, and reason. And what is key to understand? Well, first, these apply to both adverbs and adverbial phrases. So now every of these different types has a different information block. It gives us different information. Time, for example, is when. We would put the when here. That would be the information block. Place is where. Frequency is how often. Manner is how. Degree is how. And reason is how. So just to help you visualize this, I could be putting here an information block that is when. I could also be putting when after, depending on the meaning that we're seeking to give. This could also be where. This could also be where, or this could be how often. So let's go over some examples taken directly from the book, The Architecture of Grammar. One example of an adverb of time would be yesterday, Léandre bought a penthouse. So yesterday indicates the time. It's an adverb of time, so it's the when. So yesterday, Léandre bought a penthouse. This is an example taken from the Architecture of Grammar. An adverbial phrase of time would be last year, Léandre bought a penthouse. Now, moving from time to place, an example of an adverb of place would be here, Léandre bought a penthouse, or in New York City, Léandre bought a penthouse. Whereas, so in New York City would be the adverbial phrase of place. So here would be the adverb. So it's just one word, versus the adverbial phrase in New York City has 3 words. Now here's the thing about using adverbs. As I said, you can place them at the beginning or at the end. And this goes back to the relevance. So if you go back to one of the previous lessons in the architecture of grammar, you know that information blocks come in order of relevance. So depending on what you wish to emphasize, you will either put before or after, or at the beginning or at the end. For example, I could say in New York City, Léandre bought a penthouse, but I could also be saying Léandre bought a penthouse in New York City. That's also possible. Now, an adverb of frequency would be sometimes Léandre buys houses. And I could also be saying Léandre sometimes buys houses. The thing about adverb is that you have to train your ear and you have to notice when it sounds right and when it doesn't. And at first it will be difficult, especially if you're not a native English speaker, but you can train your ear to really detect whether your adverbs are used properly. Now, an adverbial phrase of frequency would be every year Léandre buys a house. And so now this is at the beginning, so the emphasis is put on how often, which is the information block that we are dealing with right now. And then finally, not finally, adverbs of manner and adverbial phrases of manner. We have eagerly Léandre buys a house. So how did Léandre buy it? Eagerly. And so that's actually, that qualifies the verb. So how did he buy it? He bought it eagerly. Now, it could be an adverbial phrase, again, multiple words. It would be without hesitation, Léandre bought the house, buys houses. So that would be for the adverbial phrases of manner. And then finally, adverbs of degree and adverbs of reasons. So Léandre almost bought 2 houses. So that's, Léandre almost bought 2 houses. He didn't. Now, if I say almost bought 2 houses, it means it didn't do it. But if I say Léandre bought almost 2 houses, it could mean that Léandre only bought 1, which is a very different thing. Then finally, adverbs of reason, therefore Léandre almost bought 2 houses. So that's why we're emphasizing the why, and we could place it also in the middle. Léandre therefore almost bought 2 houses. And so that is for the adverbs of reason. And then finally, we've got the adverbial phrases of reason. So as a result would be a good example. And again, we can put it, at the beginning of a sentence. We could also put it at the end of a sentence, and we could also put it in the middle of a sentence. So the adverbs, they modify the what, they modify the sentence, and there are different places where they can go, and this will change the meaning a little bit. And this all goes back to the original idea that we talked about, and it's the idea that we have always a who and a what. And then we have other blocks, other information blocks, such as when, where, how, why, and then how often. So these blocks can be put together. They can be ordered in different ways depending on what matters the most and what meaning we're aiming to give our sentence. So we could put the when here, or we could put the where here, or we could be starting with the how at the beginning, or we could starting with how often, or we could be ending with how often. Again, whatever we put at the beginning of the sentence is going to be the emphasis and whatever we put at the end of the sentence is going to be least emphasized. So go in lesson 8 in the architecture of grammar, see all these examples, do the exercises, and I hope that this video was valuable and that you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.